We are currently 369 chapters into Black Clover, and yet there's still one major question that has yet to be answered. What is anti-magic? Ever since the very first chapter of the manga, fans have been waiting to find out exactly what anti-magic is, how does it work, and where did it come from. And over the entire run of the manga, Tabata has done an arguably pretty decent job of showcasing to us exactly what abilities and characteristics anti-magic has, though some fans would argue that not to be true, but I promise you, if you just pay attention to what happens in the manga, it would all make sense. And once we got Lead's backstory, we finally discovered the origin of anti-magic, but we still don't know exactly what anti-magic is as a power source, which the lack of that answer has caused a lot of, let's call it, debates amongst members of the fandom. Even to this day, if you were to go on Twitter, Reddit, or any other place where people talk about Black Clover, you'll see fans of the series still argue back and forth on whether or not anti-magic is actually another form of magic or a completely separate power system altogether. And considering how far we are into the series, it seems unlikely that Tabata ever plans to give a definitive answer inside of the manga. And it's at times like this where I wish Tabata had something similar to Bleach creator Tite Kubo's website, Club Outside, where we fans could go on there and ask questions directly to Tabata, and then he could just answer them whenever he has time in a blog post. Or maybe once the manga is over, or if it gets revitalized with a brand new anime or movie adaptation, we could see a new Black Clover guidebook get published where all of our questions and inquiries about anti-magic can finally be answered. But until then, we the fans are left to speculate and theorize on the age-old question of what is anti-magic based on just the clues we could find from the manga. Which the strongest clue, and the one we'll be focused on for this video, that we have about anti-magic is from its creation. Going all the way back to Lead's backstory, we see him firsthand accidentally creating anti-magic after being sealed inside the Violet Grimoire. The Grimoire that originally belonged to Lake, but was corrupted by Zegred in its first attempt to invade the human world, twisting the once mana-rich Grimoire into one filled with negative mana. And this is where I think a lot of the confusion for fans that believe anti-magic is just another type of magic comes from, because while considered different, negative mana is still technically just mana. And since Leaf did not gain his anti-magic until after he was sealed into the Grimoire, logic would dictate that 1 + 1 = 2, and that anti-magic must be a mutation of the negative mana inside of the Grimoire. Again, it comes down to the fact that Tabata himself, to my knowledge and research, never outright stated that anti-magic isn't magic. So at any point he could turn around and decide that yes, that is how Leap created anti-magic, by mutating the negative mana inside of the Grimoire, retroactively proving the naysayers right and us naysayers wrong. And as the creator of the series, he would be well within his right to do so. But if he did, it would end up being one giant retcon. Because you see, if you go back to chapter 269, we get this direct line from Leaf himself on the creation of anti-magic. After I got sealed into the 5-leaf Grimoire, it felt as if I was floating in empty space. The whole time I was in there, I kept cursing the devils, and what I manifested in my magicless body was anti-magic. It wasn't a mutated version of the negative mana inside the Grimoire that created Leap's power, it was Leap himself, or rather his intense, seething hatred for Lucifero and all other devils that he held onto for years while trapped inside of it. Somehow, through just pure rage, Lee managed to create this seemingly bottomless source of power that, despite how weak he was compared to the Luciferos and the Zegreds of the underworld, would allow him to go toe-to-toe with them. So, with the Grimoire and the negative mana having no influence on the creation of anti-magic, and with Lee, like his brother, being born without mana, we can safely conclude that anti-magic is indeed not magic. But if it's not, then what is it? And the best answer I have to that is, I have no fucking clue. The power seemingly just somehow grew inside his body over time, with no indication of if it was something that had always been there. But if it was inside of him this entire time, then it could be that anti-magic just needed his anger to help it develop. And I say anger instead of just negative emotions because he was filled with nothing but negative emotions prior to meeting Lucida, but never developed into his power. In fact, the only negative emotion that we didn't see him develop in this flashback until after her death was anger. So if it is powered by rage, then watching Lucifero kill his mother and spending 10+ years thinking of nothing but revenge definitely gave it plenty of fuel. And it could be why his anti-magic seems limitless. And also, in a way, I guess it does answer the question of what anti-magic is. Leaves anger. Now, of course, that's just my theory on what anti-magic is based on the clues from the manga, and to be completely fair to the other side who believe anti-magic is a form of magic, it is still very well possible that while trapped inside the Grimoire, Leap simply absorbed the negative mana into himself and mutated it into anti-magic. But again, based on what we've seen from the series, that seems highly unlikely. But let me know in the comments down below, do you think anti-magic is just another form of magic mutated into what it is? Or do you think, like me, that anti-magic is just simply Leap's rage manifested into a power? Or do you think it's something else completely entirely? Let me know in the comments down below. And that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.